Hello there, everybody. My name's Matt, but that's possibly an irrelevant piece of information because today I'm joined by the, of course, multi-award-winning and very well-known writer Douglas Adams and a talking duck, alias actors Adam Gardiner and Rob Hudson.
Hello.
We're here to talk about We Apologise for the Inconvenience, a infinitely improbable play about Douglas Adams. And Adam, of course, you play Douglas in this play.
Indeed I do.
You're there in your dressing gown in costume, very much looking a little bit like Arthur Dent, one of his most famous creations.
Indeed, yes, and it's the best costume I've ever had as an actor. It's the most comfortable costume I've ever had.
I bet it is. Especially some very nice slippers there as well, I notice.
Indeed, yes, these were present actually, so they've got some good use. Indeed, yes.
And Rob, you are the embodiment, I suppose, of Douglas's writer's block.
Yeah.
Talking duck.
A talking duck, precisely, yes, because he puts the duck down, and then because assuming that he talks to it throughout his sort of day in the room, and then the duck just comes to life and becomes me. So sorry, duck.
And Adam, as Douglas is experiencing some writer's block in this particular play. Tell us a little bit about where he's at this point in his life.
Well, he's currently trying to write the fourth book in his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. And at the beginning of the play, he's just come out of the bath, which he has found to be a very useful procrastination tool. But he's in a hotel room that he's been locked in by his editor because he has been so useless at meeting the deadlines previously, so he has now actually been boxed in, caged into a room with a typewriter to finish it, basically, to make sure it gets done. But as if you watch the play, you will find out
Spoiler.
he finds many other things to do other than write that book.
Of course, he once said very famously that he loves the sound of deadlines as they whoosh by. And how much were you two aware of Douglas Adams? I mean, I suppose everybody knows The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
They might not necessarily know that Douglas was behind it and the other bits and pieces he's been involved in.
Well, do you want to go first?
I mean, personally, before auditioning for this role, I wasn't very familiar with Douglas Adams at all, really. The thing that got me in the sort of casting breakdown that went was it was almost like the lost member of Monty Python and that kind of era of comedy and everything. So that was the thing that got me. But then, obviously, when I auditioned for the role, when I researched for the role and everything, I got drawn in to all of the projects that Douglas has previously worked on. And
it's hard not to, isn't it? Because there's so much he was involved in. Yeah.
Precisely, yeah. And, you know, listening to all the archives on BBC Radio 4, they've got loads of brilliant things about him and everything. And, yeah, I just got sucked in. I've got the book in my bag, actually, at the moment, rereading.
He's not finished reading it yet. We need to lock him in a room until he's...
typewriter.
Yeah. A reading table and a lamp until he's finished reading the book.
But, yeah, Rob, you were pretty... familiar previously.
I was, yeah, because my uncle used to, he had all of the original books. I think he had 4 of them at least. He had the original, the first 4 in sort of pan format, you know, the ones that, you know, on the book. It's like, you know, this book is 35p or whatever it was in the 70s. And he used to have them in his room in my grandma's, and I would go around there every week, and he would left all this stuff there, and he just said to me as a young kid, just go in the room, read whatever. And he had, you know, Judge Dredd books, and he had all these wonderful old books that he used to collect as a kid, comics and all sorts. And I just started reading them from there, and I borrowed them, and he ended up saying to me, look, just take them because, you know, you love them. And I couldn't stop reading them. Just remember, because they were quite short, first of all. So which is, yeah. But there's so much packed in them. There's so many little ideas and so much comedy in there. And it's not quite like anything you've ever read. I always find that with Douglas Adams. He had a very, very unique way of writing, because I've read a lot of other comedy and a lot of other sci-fi, but he always had a really unique outlook on things and a way of writing. That's what I always liked about him. So yeah, I knew a fair bit about him, and when he died, I was really sad. I was really upset. I mean, when I found out he died, because he was very young, wasn't he?
Very.
Yeah. And I bought the what's it called, The Salmon of Doubt, which is the book that he was halfway through.
One, yes.
Yeah, the unfinished. He was halfway through writing, and that I think his wife or partner just allowed someone to just have access to his old computer, which was full of all letters and unfinished bits and pieces, and he's published that in his book, and it's great. But there's a little foreword of that about that Stephen Fry says how sad he was that he's not going to get any emails off Douglas anymore, and it sort of brings a lump to the throat when you think about it. You go, oh no, because it just sort of brings it home again. So yeah, I've read an awful lot about him and I was really chuffed to bits to get played in this. To get cast in this, even more pleased that I wasn't actually playing Douglas Adams. So I didn't have any of this pressure, being as good as him. I didn't have any of that pressure. I got to do this one.
Stop it.
And both of you have got quite varied backgrounds. And Adam, let's talk a little bit about your background first of all. You've done quite a few bits and pieces, and this is obviously quite a major role for you at this point as well.
Yes, yeah, it was. I believe it was pretty much the first thing I did when I came out of drama school. Found it online and auditioned for it and got the role. And it's been fantastic that it's been going on for so long. We've managed to play several different festivals and venues. We started at 3 Minute Theatre in Manchester, Birmingham, Buxton, Brighton. It's
all the B-towns.
There you go. Yes, it's the first play that I have travelled around with, really. So I feel quite an affinity with it now. And it will always have a, I've got my parents got for my birthday, my mum framed the poster of it, signed of course by the lovely writer Mark Griffiths.
I thought you were going to say signed by your mum.
And it's currently pride of place above the record player. So it'll always have a special place in my heart.
Rob, you've got quite a comedic background in some respects, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. Well, I started doing mainly schools work when I started my acting career, and doing a lot of comedy stuff in schools, and then I moved on to do improv, which I do a lot of family-friendly stuff with different a company called Comedy Sports and a few other different people. Being freelance for many years, I just tend to do whatever comes along, really, for the money. But I do it not just for the money, not exclusively for the cash.
Yeah, you're not getting paid for this.
What? So yeah, I've done a fair bit of comedy. I tried my hand at stand-up a couple of times and found it incredibly difficult and terrifying, so I just abandoned that to better people.
Just sit down to it.
True, yeah, just bring a stool. That'd be all right. Bring a stool. So yeah, I've done a fair bit of comedy, and I tend to get cast in comedy roles, and so I'm all right at making children laugh. I'm not sure about adults, but children I can do. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the audience reaction to this, certainly, I've been lucky enough to see this in Manchester-based venues, has been very good. Certainly for those who know the Douglas Adams, there's a lot of in-jokes and references, and for those who don't as well, there's still quite a compelling story about one man's sort of internal prison that we've got, and the embodiment of that in yourself as this talking omnisexual dog, which is
that's right.
I can't wait to see this role on your CV. Have you found it? Because you said, as you said, you've been all the B towns in the UK, and it's going to Scotland. It's going to Edinburgh.
Coming to Bridlington soon.
Bridlington. Before Bridlington, we've got Edinburgh. Of course, the Edinburgh Fringe is coming up.
Edinburgh.
How have you found the audience reaction yourselves?
Yeah, it's very good. Very positive.
Found it to be brilliant. 'Cause I've found that the play is incredibly relatable for everybody, but especially writers. Not even necessarily writers that are big fans of Douglas Adams, but how you can relate to the procrastination and the struggle when you have got that writer's block, and all the tangents you go off on. I spend the first 10 minutes of the play just speaking.
Yeah, the first chunk of the play shows sort of Douglas's real frustration in trying to sort of vocalise how he can't write this book, and he can talk and intellectualise, and he's obviously very bright, and that comes across in the script, doesn't it? Just the things he thought of and the things that he wanted to talk about and wanted to tell people, but he didn't want to sit down and write any of it down because it was too difficult, and he just saw this page as like a yawning gap of hell, he calls it in the thing, doesn't it? He's like, hell isn't, hell is A4 size.
Hell is A4 size. It's not dark, it's white and A4 size.
Yeah. So he wanted to just do anything but just do this one thing. But unfortunately, he'd already been paid to do the one thing, and he hadn't done it yet. But we can all sympathise with that, can't we?
Yeah, there is an element of the everyman story in there, I think, certainly. And you're going to Edinburgh quite soon, actually, at the time recording. From the 9th of August until
the
16th.
Yes, quite a run that we've got. Whereabouts in Edinburgh are you playing?
We're doing the PQA venues just off the Royal Mile. Let me just confirm that with you. Yes, PQA venues. Venue 277
and you're
Yeah.
277 from the 9th to the 16th of August.
That's right, yeah.
Indeed.
It's well worth seeing, 'cause I think it's a play that breaks a lot of different boundaries, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a play that's gaining more and more traction. I think when we all began this journey,
Yeah.
in a slightly,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't that cramped a rehearsal room, but when we started off,
It got there, didn't it?
it's- and then run and run, hopefully this will do.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
and
you.
best of luck in Edinburgh.
Cheers, man.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.